Good morning, everyone. We're just waiting for some connection to audio. My name's Mary Jackson. I'm Head of Education and Communities. All right, we have everybody, I think, so far is connected up, so hopefully you can all hear me. Thank you for keeping your microphones on mute for the moment. We've got 5 minutes before we start, so I'm just going to run a quick presentation before we do. And yeah. And hopefully we'll speak to you in about 5 minutes. Hope you're enjoying some of these images as we prepare for this workshop session, Playtime Revolution. It's one of our summer sessions. We've been running them for over 2 weeks. We're coming towards the end of the summer sessions. I think we should have named them something else because I can't pronounce them anytime I say it. We will be recording this session and so that you can catch up with it afterwards, or people who can't actually make it live will be able to watch it later. Welcome to everyone who is joining us at this time. We're just waiting for people to arrive. People are coming on all the time. Great to see you here for this summer session, which I find very hard to say. This is Playtime Revolution. We'll be starting at 10 o'clock and we've got a few more people to arrive, but I hope you're enjoying these images in the meantime. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for the moment and I'm going to say hello to everyone. Just admitting the next person in. Hello to you all. If you would like to share your cameras, put your cameras on, I would love to see you. If you don't want to, that is absolutely fine. If you can keep your microphones off at the moment, that would be great though, just because in case there's noises going on in the background. You know what it's like. You've all done this many times now, I am sure. So hopefully you are all starting to join us and we're getting everybody on board. If you would just bear with me a second while I set up the main presentation. But it's lovely to see you. We are possibly due some more people to arrive, so I will give it a couple of minutes before I start properly. But my name is Mary Jackson and I'm Head of Education and Communities here at Learning Through Landscapes. The session today that I hope you all think you are on is the Playtime Revolution. It's great to see you, and I'm trying to just see how many people we've got here today, because later on we're going to put you into breakout rooms so that you can talk to each other rather than listen to me, which is much more fun, to be honest. We've been running these sessions now for about 10 days. I'm sure some of you will have joined us for other ones and seen different members of staff, but I hope you'll all enjoy. We've got a lovely picture of Patty's wall, some nice images on the wall. This is what we do now, isn't it? We do Zoom and we see what everybody's got in their walls, on their bookshelves, etc. But welcome. Thank you all for coming. I will start the session now. As I say, if you want to keep your cameras on, that's absolutely fine. We will be moving into breakout rooms, and I'll ask when we move to breakout rooms that if you are able to share your camera, then please do, and obviously turn your microphones on so that you can be heard when you're in breakout rooms, so that you can have some really good discussions. But that will come later. So in the meantime, I'm going to just get my presentation going, and I need to do this all in the right order, otherwise it decides that I can't show you. So if you just bear with me a second. There we go. Okay, and I should now be able to share my screen. So, welcome to everybody, proper welcome. Now we're getting going. As I say, this is one of our summer sessions, Playtime Revolution. So really looking at how you can think about play and how you can improve your playtime and the importance of play for children and young people. What I would like to do is at some stage kind of find out what backgrounds you're all from. So if you can use the chat box and just maybe say if you're a primary teacher, whether you're early years, whether you're a midday supervisor or something like that, it would be really nice just to have a flavour of who we've got in the room. But so if you just write a little message in the chat box. When I'm sharing my presentation, I can't see the chat box, which isn't ideal. So I will go and check it kind of when you go up into breakout rooms to see more then. I can kind of dip in and out of it, but it's not the easiest for me to do. So I will try and keep an eye on it, but it's easier for me to have that turned off while I'm presenting, but I hope that's okay. I will go in and out of it. If you have any questions, please do put them in there as well. We will have time at the end as well for some questions to go in and things you've reflected on as we go through the session. So this is me. Who is Learning Through Landscapes? I'm sure if you, especially if you've been on these sessions for the last few days, you'll know who we are by now. We're the National School Grounds Charity, outdoor learning and play charity. We do all sorts of things supporting schools and those who work with them as well. So we run workshops, and obviously we've been doing online workshops, and one of my colleagues was planning on doing some teacher training in a school tomorrow. She's having to wait because one of the staff has a temperature, so she's not sure if she's going in or not, but we're hoping from September that we will be in more schools, especially doing teacher training, because we can do that obviously after school and do it in a very easily socially distanced way. So if it's something you're interested in, do think about that and let us know. But we're doing a lot more online training as well, so watch out for what's coming in the future. So this is what we're all about. We basically want children and young people to be able to access the outside, the outdoors when they're at school. We believe it's really, really important that they have that connection with nature, that they have the opportunities that outdoor learning and play can provide, and that they have teachers who are skilled and able to provide that for them, because we know that many teachers don't get that training at college. So we hope that for those who don't, or those who would like to do more teaching and play outside, we're there to help. So what we're going to look at in this session, we're going to start with just looking at what the value and the benefits of play, and then really the importance of having a consistent message within your team, whether that's your teaching staff or whether that's the staff that make midday supervisors or play supervisors, whatever you call them in your school. Then we're going to look at how you think about what you've got already. We always at LTL try to get you to think about what you're doing well already, as well as where you need to improve. So you may think, oh, our playtimes, oh, we could do better with this, but you'll be doing something well. So let's kind of focus on that first, and then let's see how you can improve. And then we're looking at the range of play experiences that we can provide children, and we'll then look at kind of examples of what other schools and settings have done, schools in particular, and some of the resources and contacts you can have from us. So first of all, it's really important that children and young people have access to play. It's really interesting. We've been doing work in secondary schools, and as you can imagine, play in secondary schools is sometimes seen as something that you don't do, that children don't do, young people don't do, kind of grow out of it. But actually, it's really important they have those opportunities as well as they are older. But for very young children, it's so important. It's part of their being. It's part of being a child, that they have access to play, and it's absolutely fundamental to their development. So play is often defined as something that is freely chosen by children. It's not something that adults have control over. It's something that even if adults set something up, the children then make the decisions about what happens next and how that play continues, how they get involved, who they get involved with, and all the different ideas. So they're sharing and using their imaginations and their creativity. And the benefits, I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with a lot of these, you know, things like developing physical skills, developing social skills. But there are other things as well that, that maybe you don't think about so much. Things like self-led learning, things like making decisions for yourselves and deciding what you're going to do next. So there are other benefits, supporting a love for the natural world. And we're going to look a little bit later about the importance of risk and challenge and how that helps children develop as well. So there's some of the many benefits of play. Schools that have really looked at play, and we do a lot of work, some of my colleagues in Scotland do this a lot. I'm just going to make sure we've got everybody admitted. There we go, getting new people all the time. So welcome to those who are new. Hopefully you can catch up with what we're doing. We're just starting the introductions really and looking at why play matters. And for schools that have really looked at their play and considered it as part of what they provide for children, find some really positive benefits of that. So things like improved behaviour, things like classes actually settle down to learn a lot better if they've had a good playtime. I'm sure you can think about times when you've known there's not been such a great playtime and how children don't settle back into lessons afterwards. So that is really important, that playtime is a positive experience for children. And for children who don't like school, one of the things they may well mention is that they don't have a happy playtime. So that is, you know, really important that we get it right. Play is very, it's very egalitarian, perhaps that's the word. I'm not sure it's the right word, but the thing with play is it's the same really for everyone. Everyone can get engaged with it. If you're using materials such as natural materials, which we encourage a lot of schools to do, as you can see here, a stick is a stick is a stick. Now it can be 110 different things, but it is not a male thing. It's not something only boys play with or only girls play with. It's not something that is pro one team and anti another. It is something that is equal for all. So everyone can have that common experience and common use of something that is really simple. As I say, a stick may be a stick, maybe a stick, but it can be hundreds of other things as well. The imagination is the only limit. So, as I say, one of the things that's really important when you're looking at play in your school is that you have that consistent message throughout the school. The senior management are saying the same things about play and thinking the same things and seeing the importance of it as the teaching staff, as the support staff, as the pupils, as everybody in school. And this is often where problems arise, where the teaching staff don't really know maybe what's happening at break and lunch times when you've got support staff coming in. Particularly maybe at lunchtimes, and the support staff don't know that the teachers are thinking one thing and the support staff is thinking something else. And so sometimes we get kind of clashes of rules and clashes of culture, so that pupils then get confused and then they wonder why they get into trouble because one person has said something and somebody has said something else. So the idea of making sure that you've got that consistent message throughout. Now the picture in the bottom right corner there, that's the head teacher in that school. So she's also engaging with that playtime behaviour and understanding what is going on at playtimes, so that there is that consistency of approach and children don't get confused about what one person is saying and then somebody's saying something completely different. And in order to do that, it's a really good idea to develop a play policy. So it's not only making those things clear and consistent across the school, it's showing everyone that play matters. Play is important in school. We've all got kind of various learning policies, development plans, all those kind of things. But how high is play given status in your play? I'm just letting somebody else in if I can. If you bear with me. I'm letting another one in. Sorry about this, but I have to kind of keep admitting them one at a time. So just bear with that. Hopefully she is joining. So the little kind of tent logo there, that is a school who has decided that they want to kind of award themselves a status for being good at play. So many of you will probably be eco schools or healthy schools or this kind of thing. Well, they decided they wanted to show in their school development plans, in their school policies, etc., and on their website, that play was important too. So they created this little logo that said, yes, play matters to us. And it gave everybody that clear message that outdoor play is just as important and has high status within the school. And that message needs to be communicated out to parents. And I'm sure there will be a lot of you who will be going, yes, but our parents, how do we get that message across to parents? And we will talk about that more as we go through and later on. But one of the ways of doing it is communicating that message to parents, making sure they understand why play is important. So things like, you've probably got displays around your school that are maybe curriculum linked, or maybe an eco club board or something like that. Do you have a board showing good play? Do you have a board that shows parents and visitors to the school, yes, we value play and this is what we're doing and this is what it looks like in our school because it's great. So think about those messages that you're sending out to the people who visit, and that includes parents. That includes parents who are coming to visit you to decide whether their children are going to come to your school. That's the parents who have got children there. So what you're doing in newsletters, blogs, websites, all these things, you're showing that you as a school value play. And that helps the parents understand also why you value it. You need to say, show them that their children, how they're engaging in play, what they're learning from play, and how they're benefiting from play, all that social development, all those benefits we looked at the start, so that they too understand that play is important. So one of the first things to do when you're thinking about play is looking at what you've got already. As I say, it's really important. Sometimes we kind of miss this stage out. And Learning Through Landscapes, whenever we're talking anything to do with school grounds, we try and encourage schools to think about a process of change, whether that's you're changing it for learning, whether you're changing it for play, whatever you're doing. And the first stage is always, where are we now? So you need to have a look and think, you know, are we doing things well? What are we doing well? What could we improve on? Where are there gaps? What are our grounds like? Are there good bits? Are there bad bits? Are there places that children won't go because it's always cold and windy, or it's too hot and sunny in the summer? Are there places that certain groups gather? Are there hiding spaces that are positive hiding spaces, or are there hiding spaces that you are more worried about? Well, we've got a number of tools to help you with that. Some of them are on our website, and some of them you can download. Some of them are in publications that we've produced. So do have a look at our website. A lot of resources at the moment are free. So do check those out and see what you can find. And you're looking really for the school grounds audit tool, and that will help you look and evaluate your school grounds as they are now and how you're using them. So these are the kind of questions you want to think about. What experiences are already there for children? What can they get engaged with? And this doesn't matter whether you're an urban site with very little green in it, or a rural site with very little asphalt in it. It's the same questions that you need to ask. So what play experiences have you got, and what are you missing? What are the obstacles? What's stopping you from making your play experiences for your children better? Do you enable mixed play? So mixed age play. Some schools will have a playground that is an infant playground, and then another playground that is a junior playground. Is that the best way, or is it better to look at defining space by activity? So maybe having one playground that maybe Monday, Wednesday and Fridays has football on it, for example, and then Tuesdays, Thursday might have netball on it. And then you have another playground that is for other sorts of activity. Obviously it depends on what space you've got, but how are you defining those spaces? Are there rules that aren't written rules but have become rules over time just because that has been what has happened and nobody knows why? But that's what it's always been. So think about that. Where are those places that everybody wants to be, and where are the places that nobody wants to be? Are there places where you're always finding trouble? Is there a place where you know if we go over there we're going to find a problem? And why is that? Are there any spaces that aren't being used at the moment? A lot of schools obviously have issues with different times of year not being able to use all their grass area, and I'll look at that a little bit later, and then everybody gets kind of funneled into the playground. Are we using the space as best we could? Are you communicating those benefits, and what is your vision for the future? Who can help you move forward? And obviously I will say that Learning Through Landscapes can help you move forward, but there may be other people locally as well that you can contact. If you know a school that's doing something really well, talk with them, find out what they've done to change and make things better. And there are lots of ways of consulting people, and we always say, so we've done where are we now, and next bit is where do we want to be? And that is really thinking we want a positive play experiences. What are your priorities? What are the things that you want to see? Do you want to see more active play? Do you want to see the different age groups engaging and playing together? What are your priorities for what you want? And when you've worked that out, you can then look at how do we get there? And here are just some ideas of thinking about how you can get there. And as you can see, models have been created by pupils. And we always ask, what do you want to be able to do outside in your playtime? Not what do you want to have. If you ask children what they want to have, you will get roller coasters, you will get, Wembley Stadium, you will get all sorts of things like that. But if you ask them what do they want to be able to do, they'll be able to say, we want to run, we want to play with our friends, we want to play football, we want to jump, we want to hide. And then you can create spaces that don't cost a fortune, because you're not recreating Wembley Stadium, but you are creating features and spaces that enable those activities to happen. And you can do it in a creative way and a way that is unique for your school. One of the things that is really important is that children need to be able to make those decisions. If you think back to that definition of play, part of it was about children making their own decisions. And part of that is for them to be able to access all the equipment, all the resources that you might have outside. So one of the first things to think about is, how are we going to store the equipment we want to use, that we want to allow children to have? How do we make it accessible to them? You may put in systems. I've seen kind of key rings where you take out a key ring that has a certain piece of equipment attached to it, you have to take it back, and you do some switching of things so everybody knows what's gone out and who's brought it back and things like that. But the most important thing is that it's accessible to everybody. And how do you think about dividing those spaces? I was talking earlier about zoning spaces for activity rather than necessarily for age group, but you need to know what the needs are for your school. And at the moment, zoning spaces is probably more important than ever. I've just walked past my local primary school and they've got tapes up dividing the playground and the field into different areas, where I'm assuming that they're taking different groups so that different bubbles and different classes can have defined spaces and with the problems that we have at the moment, so that they're not interacting with other groups. Well, can we think about how we do that? Can we maybe not put the kind of the plastic police type tape between those spaces? Can we think about maybe putting bunting up? Can the pupils themselves make a pennant each to hang on to a bit of bunting to make it that space their own? Can we use temporary features such as planters? Can we think about what we might use in the long term as well? So you can see here we've got more permanent features as well as temporary ones. But when we put permanent features up, can they be things that have a second function? Could they be a wildlife hedge? Could they be raised planters? Could they be something that you display work on? So think about using those in a creative way, and they're not just a barrier. How do we ensure, I said I'd talk a little bit more about how do we ensure that we can access the whole site throughout the year, and there are lots of different ways of doing that, because we do know for a lot of schools those playing fields do get very wet in the winter. There are some things you can do. You could do things like they do in Japan, which is have an indoor set of shoes and an outdoor set of shoes. They come inside, and from a very early age, 2- and 3-year-olds are changing their shoes on their own, because that is common practice to wear more like slippers inside in a private space in a school. A building is considered to be that a private space. So they're very used to changing their shoes, so they don't mind so much that their outdoor shoes might get a little bit muddy. So there's two things to think about here. There's the outdoor shoes getting muddy, and then there's the space getting so muddy that you feel you can't use it. And so if that's the case, then there's thinking about different ways you can access the grass. There are some things you can put down that the grass grows through. You can buy kind of meshes that you can put down yourselves. It doesn't need any kind of expensive installation. And you can put those down that just reinforce the grass, and you can mow over those. You might decide to put stepping stones, or certain areas that are well worn. You might decide to have a boardwalk or something like that. So lots of different ways that you can think about doing it. There's not one answer fits all. And the other thing is, the more space that pupils can access, the less likely it is that one space will get kind of worn down and cause a problem. There are a number of people who have spoken about play, and this is just one, David Sobel, who is a place-based educator, and he has come up with kind of 7 different types of play and types of space that children partake in. There are lots of similar kind of systems to this. I was looking at one yesterday from Japan that has very similar sorts of things, and these are just ways that if you want to think about your grounds in reference to play, it's quite a useful framework. So have you got adventurous opportunities? Have you got places where children can take a bit of risk and try something new? Have you got space where they can use their imagination and create fantasy? Have you got spaces where they can access animals and creatures, where they can hunt for mini beasts? How are you letting children move around the site? What kind of paths have you got? What routeways around the site have you got? Have you got little special places that they can hide in, and maybe just like you can see in that image there, have they got little places that they can maybe gather with a friend or a group of friends? Small places, special places are really important. Are there places where you can bring out small world play? And are there places where, I love this, hunting and gathering, it takes us back, doesn't it, as it were, but social and cooperative skills. All these things are quite nice ways of thinking about, are we providing a full range of play experiences for our children? So I'm going to kind of stop sharing my screen in a minute, but I'd like you to, we're going to move you into different rooms, and you're going to have a bit of a breakout for about 10 minutes or so. And what I want you to do is think about these questions. So a couple of things. First of all, when you go into your groups, if you could decide on one person who's going to feedback, because I am going to ask for that feedback when we come back together again. Please do introduce yourselves to each other. So do turn your cameras and microphones on and say hello. But these are the 2 questions that I want you to think about. So what are the current opportunities for play in your grounds? And what are the obstacles you are facing in providing a wide range of outdoor play experiences for children? So those are the questions I'm going to ask. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now so that I can put you into breakout rooms. So we've got 12 of us, so I'm going to put you into 3 rooms. So there'll be 4 of you in each. So hopefully that'll work. And then I have to remember how to do this, but it's good to see faces. Lovely to see you. So I'm now going to try and open all the rooms. You will be, if you bear with me, you're going to have 50, no, I'm going to put you in for 12 minutes in the rooms, and you will be given a 60-second warning that the rooms are about to shut. So you've got that countdown to make sure you've gathered together what you've been discussing so that one person can feedback. So are we all happy with what you've got to do? So you're introducing yourselves to each other, choose one person to feedback, and then have a look at those 2 questions. So I'm going to send you into the rooms, and I may pop in. I can pop in and pop out. If I will be here if you need to kind of come back, you can leave the room. But otherwise, hopefully you'll stay in the room for the next 12 minutes to have a bit of discussion. So here you go, hopefully. You should all be, moving into rooms. Right, Kitty, you're not in a room. Let's see if I can make sure you get in one. Why isn't Kitty in a room? How peculiar. Oh, she is now. Because I've put it on pause, and if I don't do it, I will forget. But that is a spectacular kitchen you've got there.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah,
it's amazing.
We built it at weekends. It took about a year.
Oh, fantastic.
We're now on the bathroom, so everything's just up in the air again.
Cool. Right, now the others should be joining us in, I don't know how many seconds, because it doesn't show me anymore, but we were down to...
I thought I'd click dismiss like the button, but it...
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're all coming back now. We're all back in the room, as it were. So now the question is, how do I work out? You won't know who was in which group, really. So how many people we got left to come back? Are we all back in? Okay, looks like we probably are. Okay, just to let you know which group you're in, so that when I go group 1, please can I hear from you, group 2, group 3. So room 1 was Aisha, Paula, Susan, Teresa. 2 was Ian, Kath, Kitty and Sam, and 3 was Eileen, Claire, Patty and Tom. I apologise if I've got anybody's names pronounced incorrectly. And we have Marcella has joined us, so we'll join one of those groups later. So the task I set was for you to be thinking about what current opportunities for play in your grounds and what are the obstacles. And if I can have the person kind of feeding back just to tell me some of the kind of highlights of your discussion, and if there anything significant that they'd like to be addressed, or us as a group to talk about. So if I could have somebody from group 1 turning their microphone on and feeding back, that'd be great.
Hi. It was really, the short time we had was really interesting, because each one of us is from different backgrounds, and we've all got different problems. We've all got problems, we've all got issues with the outside area. So for example, Susan, there's no very limited outdoor area for her to access, and she's in the process, and things have changed because of lockdown, but they had like a farm area that they could use, but again, there's been problems with that, within that, such as using it with other people because she's in a special school. And Paula's from Australia, and that was interesting. They've got fantastic area outdoors that they can use, and it's just getting everybody on board and interested and things like that. Myself, we've got lots of area, plenty of area there, but it's very limited and restrictive. So, for example, we've got a great big massive field. We're unable to use it because it's full of potholes and very dangerous for the children, really. And I can't see her. Where's she gone? Aisha, she bless her, she didn't have very much time to talk. She's just sort of joined the group. So, and I think she's in early years setting. So, okay. And that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, this is the trouble with this thing. You just get into the discussion, don't you? And then I drag you out of it. So we will go back into the session for one more kind of discussion a little bit later as well. So if there's anything kind of you want to pick up from there, and what we will do is ask you to kind of put in any questions or anything that you think you would particularly like answers on, please do put them in the chat box, and I'll look at that as we go through the session, and we can go back to that near the end of the session as well. So if there are common things that are coming out or things that you want to know more about, please do put them in there. Obviously what you might find is somebody in your group says, oh yeah, we had that and we could do this, or we tried that, or whatever. So obviously that's useful, but that's a kind of good starting point. So thank you very much. Group number 2, what discussions happened in group number 2?
Oh yeah, we discussed we've got quite a lot of land, both the Ian, who isn't Ian.
Roz.
Her name is Roz, but she's down as Ian.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, we've got plenty of land, but it's having the finances to set up the different areas. It's a case that the staff are expected to pay for it themselves out their own money.
Okay. Are you in a school or an early years setting, or what kind of setting?
Right, me and Sam, we're in the same school.
Okay.
We're in a residential special school with so many different areas, play areas. We've got woods around us. We've got tennis courts, parked area, wild areas.
Okay, yeah.
We're very, very lucky with our land.
Yeah.
And Roz has got big playing fields and concrete, tarmac areas.
Yeah.
But it's having the staffing and the interaction, staffing and supervision, because we're a special school. Our supervision has to be very, very high. We would also discuss the fact that some of the SLT expect the staff to lead play, whereas we're learning that it's more important that it's the children that lead the play.
Yeah.
So we had a good discussion about that, is educating the SLT.
Good point. Anybody here
could be very interesting.
Excellent. Okay, I've got a thought for you there. Okay, I will bear that in mind. That's really useful. Thank you.
Okay.
Brilliant. Can I just ask, I forgot, there's somebody else in the waiting room, so I'm just going to let them in. Just ask Paula from Australia. Whereabouts in Australia are you from, Paula? You're on mute, so if you could.
Okay, sorry. I am from New South Wales, the very south of New South Wales, in a coastal town, a small regional coastal town.
I was going to hope you were in Western Australia, because I've got strong play contacts in Western Australia, but they may.
No, well, it seems that we're on the east coast. We're a little bit thin on the ground. It'd be good to have some more passionate people over this side, because it's a very, very, very long way from here to Western Australia.
It is. I mean, but if you're interested, if you put a note in with your email address or something like that, if you email inquiries at ltl.org.uk, I can at least put you in touch with people in Australia.
Oh, that'd be great. So, yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. Okay, group number 3. So whoever's left. Oh, and we need your, that's
Yeah.
it.
Okay, we have a nice mix of people as well. We have Patty, who is on a school board of governors now, but she's also an environmental educator and has done a lot of work in her school and helps other schools with their outdoor play. Is that right, Patty? Got everything? Then we have Claire, and she works in a behaviour unit, yeah.
Okay.
And she's very pleased with her grounds, lovely grounds and lots of nature around, and she says it's quite large as well. And then we have Tom, who's in a special needs school, and they have a field that no one seems to use except on sports day, and I think he feels not enough resources. Is that right, Tom? Do you agree? Yeah. Yes. And I'm currently I'm an early years teacher, but I just took a few years out, and I'm doing volunteering in my daughter's school garden. But I'm also a classroom assistant in a primary school for P7s in Northern Ireland. We talked a little bit about like I was in helping out over the lockdown period with some key worker children, and like we were disinfecting items that were used straight out, and children weren't allowed to play with other children, but that was in a very small controlled bubble. Like we had no more than 6 children in at one time, just for the demand.
Yeah.
Claire, I have to say, Patty gave it like a nice, I think it was Patty who said like disinfecting everything, when we have the bubbles when we come back to school, like every class or every bubble will have their own box of play equipment. And Claire was also saying then like you use Milton to clean it every day. Things that can't be cleaned are set aside in a plastic bag for 72 hours, following the recommendation. Tom talked a little bit about the fields that he has. Like as he was saying, there seems to be rabbit holes in it, and so therefore it's a health and safety measure because children can trip. He also saying that they have a small path that they can use, but children who are in it's not accessible to children depending on their needs.
Sure.
So therefore, no, from what I understand, no child is allowed to use it.
Okay.
I hope I have that right. Okay. But I have to say, Patty talked a little bit about the things that we can do straight away that are affordable, and that's like using of tires, which can be used in the play or for planting up. I think, yeah. Oh yeah, and we talked a little bit about Rota, about eat and then play, and then another group would play and then eat. That's all I've got, Dan. I hope
That's lovely. That's fantastic. Thank you all. If you can all put your microphones on mute, because if something happens in an area, then it kind of. But thank you all, and that's really useful feedback. I hope you found those discussions interesting. As I say, we will go back into the discussion groups, and the two that we've got 2 new people since we were in those discussions, so I'll make sure they get assigned to a group as well. But I think it's really useful, and what I'm going to do in the next few slides is show you examples of what other schools and settings have done, and I hope that I'll show you a lot of those images that actually cost very, very little to do as well. So lots of examples of ways schools have addressed that idea of we can't do this because of resources, which we know are exceedingly tight. And just a quick thing on the, I think there were brilliant ideas about that kind of washing down and leaving for 72 hours, all those kind of things. Just to say there is, if you go to our website, there's, if you click straight on, you'll find there's a bit all about these sessions and about our response to COVID and all that sort of thing. And there is a link particularly to how to deal with the hygiene aspects and the latest advice. So there's a really, really useful page. That's what we've tried to do, is bring everything together, because every nation is slightly different, as you will probably have discovered, and every nation's guidance changes every 5 minutes as well. So it is a bit of a moving target, and we're trying to keep on top of that and bringing it all together so that you're not having to search every website. You can come to our website and go, great, everything's there. I just look in one place, it's all there. Thank you very much. And I know people are finding that really useful. The other thing is that we are, one of the things we're also doing is we're putting up guidance that's being done by landscape architects. So in fact, on Thursday at 4 o'clock this week, we're doing a session that is actually going to be run by landscape architects who are looking at how you can make temporary changes to your grounds to help get them ready for bubbles or for how we might work in different ways. That's going to be really interesting. It's going to be looking at how you get people into school and how you deal with that fact that parents still need to be 2 meters apart, even if children can be together, and all those kind of things. And then how you might create some temporary spaces and what it might look like. So that's from a different perspective, which I think is really interesting. So if you are interested, that's one of the sessions that's on tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So some of you might find that useful. So as I say, what I'm going to do now is, if you bear with me, I have to do this in the right order, otherwise it doesn't work. It's all complicated. I should be used to this by now, to be honest. But there we go. Do that, then I go like that, and then I share my screen. And as I say, what I'm going to do is look at some of the things that other schools and settings have done. And these are some schools who have got, or have at least had at some point, some of those large areas that some of you were talking about, spaces that sometimes you can access and sometimes you can't because of weather and things like that. And actually dividing them up into smaller spaces is not always difficult and can be almost virtually free. So you'll see that kind of one where I've got adventure written on it. All they've done there is basically allowed the grass to grow. Now you do need to clear it away at the end of the season. It needs to have at least one mow a year, because otherwise all it will do will end up becoming brambles and then ultimately could be woodland. So it's not maintenance free, but it is kind of lower maintenance. It's a great place to kind of have adventure and go in and roll around in the long grass and things like that, but it just creates a different kind of space. You'll notice there's some trees kind of planted along it, and as in the top image, some of those trees are willow. Now willow is hungry for water, so if you've got a really damp space, that's a great plant to use, and it'll kind of take up some of that water and help to dry out that space. But it is also incredibly easy and incredibly cheap, and basically literally all you do with it, you take a cutting that still obviously needs to be alive, and you basically just ram it into the ground and it will grow, which also means that next year when you're cutting it back, you can take that cutting, put it into the ground, and it will grow. So it is a really useful resource for creating lots of intimate and interesting spaces. If you want to think about creating a space that's got that feel of intimacy, of somewhere to hide, you can still kind of see through, so that's not a problem. But it is a useful resource that after year one, even in year one, it's very, very cheap, but after year one, it's basically free and you just can keep using it and spreading it around. You'll see the image on the left is interesting. I was talking to one of my colleagues who visited this space. It's actually a space in Berlin. If any of you have a chance to go and visit school grounds in Berlin, they are amazing. They've been tackling problems and creating wonderful play spaces in their school grounds. Basically 30 odd years ago, over 30 years ago, they were seeing poor behavior in playtime. And they felt that was because their grounds were just purely asphalt sites. So instead, they now have, 30 years later, they have these amazing play spaces where they have a lot of willow planted, because that's instant impact, but it creates great spaces. And this image on the left, my colleague was saying when he went to visit it, he said, oh, why have you got this fencing up? Why is it there? Is it to stop people going in? And they were going, no, what it's there to do is stop people rushing in and out so that they bump into other people, but you can still climb over and climb through. Now, obviously, it depends on the access abilities of your pupils, but everywhere should have some challenge. No child should be exempt from having opportunities for challenge and risk, and there's just different ways you need to think about doing that and incorporating it. It's not all about just having kind of lots of runways of tarmac paths so that a wheelchair can easily go down. Now you need to think about, can you make that an interesting and challenge for a child in a wheelchair, just as much as climbing over a stile might be for another child. So it's thinking about those opportunities for everyone. And these kind of things, maintenance is lower as well. As I say, you do need to maintain spaces. If you have a wild area in your school grounds, don't just leave it, because ultimately it will get run over with brambles, it will get run over eventually with trees, ponds will dry up and all that kind of thing. So you do need to maintain them, but the maintenance is less. Okay, if you have an asphalt site, you can use willow there as well. Somebody mentioned tyres, and here's some fantastic use of tyres. Using them, filling them up with soil. If you are growing food in tyres, then you need to be more careful because there can be some horrible chemicals in the tyres. But if you line the tyres, then generally that's fine. But with something like willow, where you're not actually eating the crops produced, you know, fill it up with soil and compost, a good mixture. And there you can see, as I was talking about before, just literally poking the rods of willow, very easy for the pupils to get involved with, into the soil, and then tying them in these arches, and then you see the effect later. You then need to make sure that you either weave those long spires in. You can let them just grow tall, and they will grow a couple of meters in a year, or you can use them, trim them off, plant them up for a new feature. So you don't have to have beautiful sites, green sites, in order to make some fantastic spaces. And here's some other kind of ways of using lots of recycled materials so that you're not, again, thinking about kind of expensive things. We all know the stories of children and cardboard boxes. Here we've got teddies and cardboard boxes, but they've all got a home to go in. So yeah, probably at this time, you've probably gathered quite a lot of cardboard boxes. If you're anything like me, or if you've had home shopping and things delivered to your house, you've probably got more cardboard boxes than you know what to do with. Fantastic. Straight away, you've got a resource for playing in your school. And think about the different ways you can use that. That can be homes for teddy bears. It could be making shops and creating kind of shops that you can use and have playtime shopping adventures or something like that. So lots of different ways you can use boxes and just be creative. So there's a resource that's absolutely free that you can take out, and when it gets too wet and falls to pieces, fine, it goes in the recycling. Top right, you'll see that is pallets. That little hut is made out of some pallets. Again, if you are ordering anything into your school grounds, often they will come on pallets and they won't want to take them away. So think about how you can use those. In my own garden, I've made mine into a vertical herb planter, but you can make it into a compost bin, all sorts of things like that as well. We've mentioned tyres, and here we've got on the left-hand image, those tyres dug into the ground so that they become a climbing runway, as it were, so that you can leap from one tyre to the other, jump on the tyres, jump off the tyres. Whereas the tyres in the right-hand side, as you can see, this is in a site that has no green space at all, and so that is their green space, growing grass in the tyres. Again, if people have old things that they want to throw out, old pots and pans for digging, for making mud pies in, mud kitchens, you know, see what people can donate that they're trying to get rid of. Again, at this time, a lot of people have been thinking about, I've got too much stuff, how can I clear out my house? Well, there may be some useful things that they can clear out and donate to you. So think about donations from people's houses as well. It's interesting, nobody has actually mentioned open sand. There is some fantastic guidance on this from ROSPA, who talk about how you keep sand safe. Basically, they're saying, you know, the bigger the better. And there's different ways of incorporating sand. You need to have clay quality sand. Do not use builder's sand. It is very different, and you will end up yellow apart from anything else. But it is a different quality, so you just need to make sure you've got that, and you do need to make sure you've got good drainage underneath. But this is one of the things that somebody mentioned, Milton fluid, that, you know, once or twice over, you know, a regular kind of use of something like that just to disinfect. Also, don't cover it so no water can get through. The rain itself will just help to clean it out. So lots of different things there. The top middle one was one created by some parents. They cut a hole in the ground, put in some permeable lining, the type of thing that you might put in a planter, and then the sand went in on top. I don't know about you, but I love those kind of baths in the bottom right. You'll notice top right, there's a little trampoline in there as well. So lots of opportunities for different ways of incorporating sand play. And if you're thinking about, oh, well, play, does that include sport? Well, why not? Lots of children will enjoy kind of sporting activities, and there's a range of things you can do. You can put in temporary nets, you can put in, you know, table tennis tables, all sorts of things. So don't discount sports completely, but you may need to think about, can we incorporate it in different ways? How do we make sure that football doesn't dominate the playground every day? And that's more about how we manage our grounds than anything else. I said I'd talk a little bit about risk and the benefits of risk. The Health and Safety Executive are really in favour really of children taking risks. There's so much children learn from being able to take risks, and children need to be, I love this expression, risk literate. If children don't know where their limits are, where boundaries are, then they'll start to take risks in dangerous ways. So it's really important that they build up their knowledge of risk and where they should take risks and where their limits lie. So giving them opportunities to build that up gradually as they get older. A small child, you know, a baby, we're very, you know, you can't just let them crawl around all over the place. We're very careful about how we manage risk for a baby, but that'll be very different from how we manage risk for a 5-year-old, for a 10-year-old, for an 18-year-old. And so we expose children gradually to risk as they grow up, and that helps them grow and develop. The International School Grounds Alliance has written a declaration on risk. And the key message from that is that school grounds should be as safe as necessary, not as safe as possible. But this is the risk declaration. There's lots of information there on why risk is important for the experience for children. And on the back of that, there is lots of information about the current research that is out there. And there is a lot of research that says why risk matters to children. So if you're interested in that, that is on our website. It's also on the International School Grounds Alliance website. So do check that out. It is really useful if you are having to convince people that risk is important. And getting those messages across is equally important. So these signs here on this, this store or this storage area were done by the children. So each year group was asked to kind of give some explanation about how you should use certain resources, how to use them safely, different ways they could be used. And this is also giving a message to all the parents that walk past every day, so they can also understand the importance of using those resources and the importance of how they should be used. Loose parts are fantastic. We've talked about cardboard boxes already. The type of creative play, and this is the kind of thing that I encourage you to look at. Use local scrap stores. I'm sure a lot of you will be members of scrap stores. This is where you can bring in resources that cost very, very little or cost nothing at all. And this is what a lot of you saying that, you know, you have no budgets, how do we bring things in? It's about being creative. It's about using pallets, about using cardboard boxes, you know, and finding things, going to your local builders merchant saying, have you got, you know, the end of a bit of piping that wasn't used on a job, or something that you want to get rid of? It's having the nerve to go and ask. You know, if you're a local school or a local setting, then people are often more than happy. Also, as children grow up, there may be toys and resources that they no longer use. Could you ask parents to donate those to the school as well? So think about how you can get things for free. Beg, borrow, I would say steal, but possibly not. But see, you know, have people got things that you can use and be creative with? Another thing to really consider is how you create opportunities that are open-ended. So with play, you're wanting children to use their imagination, you're wanting them to think about different ways they can do things. Again, it's a bit of that cardboard box thing, that if you've got a cardboard box, it can be 100 different things. If you have a specific toy, it is often one thing and one thing alone. So having those larger features as well that can be a variety of things. If you are having trees felled in your school, or you know there are trees nearby being felled, could you bring those into the site? If you are having new features made, think about the different opportunities that they maybe look really quite ordinary. So think about, I'm sure some of you are familiar with the expression about affordances. So what are the range of different ways that something can be used? I love that platform. And if you look carefully, there is a child under that platform. That's on the top right. So that's being used in ways you may not have considered, but having it raised a little bit and having that space underneath means that you've got more opportunities for play. So things that you can jump on, jump off, you can play with a friend, you can sit and chat with a friend, you can bounce things off, you can run along. Think about really simple features that actually, you know, may not look spectacular, but provide that range of opportunities for children's play. As I said earlier, we have got advice, that's a screenshot from our website, advice on hygiene and cleaning school grounds and outdoor equipment. So please do check that out. And also on the website is information about how you can develop your spaces so that social distancing, if required, is catered for, and how you look at that. And as I say, there's a webinar on Thursday about that from some landscape architects as well. So lots of resources there as well. Please do check out our website. There are a few things that we're doing, and we are going to go back into groups again in a second, but I'm just going to kind of go through this to make sure that you're aware of all the things that are available from LTL. Some of you, I don't know if any of you have been recipients of the local schools nature grant. It's funded by People's Postcode Lottery, and we are still doing that. It's going to be open again very, very soon for us to be able to come and work with schools in September. It's very competitive. Lots of people want it because it's a great little thing. It's providing schools with £500 worth of resources. There's a kind of shopping list that you can choose from, and also having somebody coming in to doing a twilight session or a lunchtime session with a small group or all of your staff. So that is a really exciting way that you can get involved. We have different themes that you can do that on, and one of the themes is looking at your playtime. So do look at that. And another theme I think is loose parts as well. So if that's something you're interested in introducing into your site, please do look at that. We've got lots of free guidance that's supporting play. Do look at those as well. The Good School Grounds Guide, loose materials. So look in the resources, look in the guidance on our website. Lots of stuff there. We may have some of you who work with secondary school pupils, especially if you're working in special schools. There's information there as well, working with elder children. I've spoken about risk management. And we do learning, and we do advisory visits as well. So we can come to your school and talk with you about what might work in your own site, take a walk with you around your grounds. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment and come back to everybody. Hopefully you can kind of see what is going on. And I want you to go back to your groups, and I will assign those who joined later to those groups as well. And I want you to think about, have you seen anything there that you think you can now apply in your own setting? Again, I'm going to leave you for 12 minutes so that we've got a little bit of time at the end to come back. Again, I'll ask you to report back, but you can also add any comments, any thoughts to the chat box as well. But thinking, has there been anything there that I've thought, oh yeah, no, I could apply that to my own setting? Is there one thing you're going to take away and think, that's what I'm going to do next? Even if it's right, I'm going to do an audit of what I've got. Is there something that you can take away? Is it that, yes, we're going to get the senior staff together with the teachers and the people who are actually supervising what's going on outside, and we're going to go out together and watch what's going on so that they understand what is happening. So you've got that consistent message across the whole school. So I want you to think about one thing that you're really going to take away from this and what you're going to do next. And I'm going to try now and assign people to rooms that haven't been in rooms before. It looks like everybody is assigned to a room, but Amy is there and you're not assigned to a room. So why? If you bear with me a minute, I'm going to see if I've got any options. I'm not sure. I'm going to assign rooms, and then if I'm left with anybody, I will assign you to join one of the rooms afterwards. This is all kind of, as you can imagine, new technology. So hopefully that'll work. So I'm going to give you 12 minutes in your rooms, and off you go. Amy assigned to. So Amy, I should be getting you assigned to a room in a minute. There we go. So we're nearly there. Okay, I'm not sure why. Amy, why haven't you joined? Amy and Paula, I'm not sure why you've not moved. It just says not joined. I'm going to try getting you in. Amy's gone, so it's just Paula. I don't know why you're not in the room. Don't know if there's anything that you're how do we, I don't know why you're not joining. I don't know if you want to turn your microphone on, Paula, and then I can have a chat with you. Paula, you seem to be stuck in this room. If you want to have a chat with me, I'm more than happy to chat with you. All come tumbling back in. Brilliant. It's lovely when I see all these faces come back in. It's really nice. So I hope that was useful for you all. Before we just kind of look at what you've come up with, I I've seen a couple of messages in the chat box specifically about sandpits. So I'm just going to say, rather than kind of trying to give you advice specifically, I'm going to point you to a couple of documents. One, somebody asked about what the document was that I said was really useful. That was by ROSPA, so the Royal Society for Prevention of Accidents. They have some really great guidance on how to create a really good sandpit. So that's really useful. And the other is, if you go to our website and go to resources, then go to guidance and publications and search on sandpit, you'll see there are 2 documents that come up. So that's resources, guidance and publications, search for sandpits. And I found 2 documents. There's one which is all about sandpits in playgrounds in Berlin, where they use sand not only in sandpits, but their major safety surface is sand, their major play surface is sand, and they have huge areas of it. And obviously they also have cats and dogs and things like that running around the city. So there are some answers maybe how to do with that. And then there is a document called Open Sand in Schools and Nurseries that we've produced, which puts some of that information together and examples what schools have done. We did quite a lot of work in Scotland based on what's happening in Berlin, and a lot of schools put in quite large areas of sand. So there's really good information in there, and hopefully you will find that useful and will answer people's questions. So I'm just gonna, we've got 4 minutes left. So 1 minute from each group. So group number 1, if you can remember who you were, first group's feedback, if you can just tell us a couple of things that people are going to do taking forward from here.
Hello. We lost 2 ladies, so I don't know what happened there. But the good feedback is, I think it's really interesting to talk to other people with different settings. We've got similar problems, we've got similar views, but we've got to work across different settings, so that was interesting. We just really talked quickly about the problems that we've got to face, which were different, and how we're going to do. So one was, I think one of the biggest ones is getting everybody else on board.
Yeah.
Money, resources is another.
But actually, you're right. Getting the attitude change is the most important thing, because if everybody's behind it, you will make it work. Do you know what I mean? If people see the value, and then you can make it work. It's when people are going, "Oh, I'm not so sure," that it's hard.
Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Group number 2.
Yeah, we came up with quite a lot of ideas. We love the tyres and the willow to dry up areas, and we've got an area that is used for football in the summer, but we can't use it in the winter because it just gets too wet. Yeah. And we struggle for goalposts, so we thought about goalposts done with the willow to help dry it up as well. But Roz was really, really informative. She's very, very passionate about play outdoors, and it really came across, and she came up with some great ideas.
Brilliant. I think that's one of the fantastic things about doing workshops rather than just doing webinars, is that you have that opportunity to share your knowledge, because a lot of people on these workshops have as much knowledge as we do, and that opportunity to share is really great. Last group.
Hi, we talked a little bit about that question that you referred to, not what would you like, but what would you like to do. And I think that for me, and I think Patty said as well, that would be a good thing to ask our schools. We also talked about a little bit about getting staff on board. We talked a little bit about standing around chatting. How can we improve on that? We in Claire's school, it's just a natural part of school. When new staff come, they just follow the lead of the staff who already use outdoor space. Yeah. But she did say she did feel that there are still areas that weren't fully utilised on their grounds, and she's going to look at that. And we also talked about wearing the right clothes, including the staff, making sure the staff know that you might need to wear welly liners, because people might not know this, especially because if you have, I know myself, I think Patty was the one who brought it up. If you have cold feet, the rest of you feels very cold. You can't really enjoy it. So that might be a way to get staff on board as well, just making sure that they're warm. And Claire also said that her parents were quite keen. They were encouraging to bring in they were asked to bring in willies, like I imagine the way you do with PE shoes.
Yeah.
The parents did it. I was kind of surprised with that. But it was nice to hear that parents did bring in, and they saw that. That's about getting the parents on board too, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's very quick what we got through.
Brilliant. No, that's really useful and really encouraging, and thank you to sharing your expertise and your thoughts as well. I'm just going to finally share my screen with a few last kind of little bits of information. And this session was called Playtime Revolution, and the reason it was is because we produced some resources as well called Playtime Revolution that you can download. So this is a really kind of an in-house session that you can do if you're wanting to do something yourselves and reviewing, and particularly if you're working with midday supervisors or the equivalent, to make sure that your play is heading in the right direction. And what that also has that goes with it are a series of videos on YouTube that are totally free on our YouTube channel. So if you search for YouTube for Learning Through Landscapes, there are a whole series of these videos. So looking at the role of the adult, loose materials, including sand, mud, water, small world, lots more. So they're short kind of 10-minute type videos, but if you're trying to encourage people to think about how you can change and how you can develop their play, they're really, really good because they're real schools doing real things, mainly in Scotland. So there are some really good accents, really strong accents in there. So if you're not used to some of those Glaswegian accents, it can be, what did they say? But you can always go back and hear again. But they're great because they're real schools that have done stuff. So that was going forward. And please do contact us. You will get an email, follow-up email as a result of this session. It will give you a link, so if you want to watch it again, review anything, look at any of the images, for example, it'll be up there for a couple of weeks. So there is a limited time that you can do it, but we would love to hear from you as well, what you think works best out of these sessions. And it sounds like those discussion points sessions are really what you enjoyed most. So what worked well, what we could change. These for us have been a bit of a learning experience for us. We're looking at how we develop our online training, and it will become kind of, I think, more sophisticated as we go on. But this is a really good way to touch base with some of you as well. Do let us know if you knew LTL before, if this is something totally new to you. And if there are things that, I'm just going to stop sharing just for a minute so I can see you all. Things that you would like from us, things that you think would be useful, again, please let us know. Do sign up for our newsletter, because we've got some projects coming up fairly soon, and we're nearly always looking for schools to work with us on different projects, be it play, be it climate change, be it growing, be it some, so if you sign up for our newsletter, which is free, then you'll be the first to hear about those things. So thank you all. We've now run out of time. If you've got any extra questions, please do ask us in that follow-up, and we'll try our best to help and answer those questions for you. But thank you all for being so enthusiastic and taking part and having those great conversations. And hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Good to meet you.